Thank you for that lovely introduction, and thank you all for having me here today and asking me to be here. It's an honor and a privilege to be here tonight. Everyone looks wonderful. You guys should all be happy and excited. As he mentioned, I went to Eisenhower in 2004 to 2008, and being in the ROTC program, we never had this. So I'm a little envious of you guys having this experience, and it's actually really awesome to see. So I hope it continues. I hope it continues to grow, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here and sit up here with all this great leadership. So thank you. I want to start off by thanking you. I did that already. All right. So initially starting off in Eisenhower with the Marine ROTC, I was expecting to sign up to be a Marine. And I was kind of talked out of it accidentally by the Marine recruiter. I was scared and nervous because initially I wanted to be a SEAL, but being a 18-year-old kid, 5'5", weighing about $130, not the best swimmer, I wasn't sure if the SEAL pipeline was for me yet. And so sitting there talking to the recruiter, he told me that, it's good that you're doing this. It's good that you're doing this. You don't want to look back at your life and wonder, what if I could have made it? And I was like, you're right. So I went up next door to the Navy recruiter and was like, hey, sign me for the SEAL program. And after that, I was out the door. When I asked the recruiter what a Navy SEAL does, he told me, I don't know, man, some crazy stuff. About 90% of them quit. It takes about 2 years of training, and to me that sounded pretty intense and wild, and I was like, I'm in. Let's get that started. As mentioned, I started my journey in 2008. In October is when my ship date was. 250 other guys were going through with me, and I didn't graduate SEAL qualification training until May of 2010. I was lucky being one of the 14 original members that started with that class to continue on, and being smart and young enough, I was able to avoid any long-lasting injuries from that training. Like some of you, I grew up being teased and bullied for the way that I looked, my height, my weight, or the color of my skin, or for the way that I could afford to dress, because maybe, my parents didn't make enough money. But instead of letting that hurt me, instead of letting the negative words of what people said to me affect me, I used it as motivation to become tougher, to develop thick skin, and more mental resilience. Every time they said I couldn't do it, I told them, yeah, you're right, I can't do it yet, but I'll figure it out. I would try, and I would try again, until I accomplished my goal. And until I saw the look of disbelief on their face when they'd see me achieve that goal. And that became my motivation. That became one of my whys of why I wanted to become a Navy SEAL. Having a strong why. The first day of SEAL training, I remember it was about 4 in the morning in California, San Diego, and everyone thinks it's always warm there, but it's a desert, so at 4 in the morning it's pretty cold. I was laying there looking at the stars while we're sitting in the surf, arms linked together, salt water and sand splashing in my face, and the Pacific Ocean was about 60 degrees. It was one of the coldest days of my life. I can still remember that day. Seeing my breath every time the waves washed over me, and within the first 20 minutes, over 40 students quit. And watching them quit, watching them go ring the bell, and as soon as they rang the bell, they got a nice warm blanket, made me think, maybe I should go do that. Maybe I should go get that blanket, that looks really nice. Everything in my brain was telling me to get out of the water, you're probably gonna die. But through that training, I didn't want to give up. I didn't want to give in to those negative feelings or thoughts in my head. I went back to my why. My why am I here? My why am I doing this? So instead of on the cold and how miserable it felt, I focused on my why, and that I'm choosing to stay, and I will not quit today. And that was the first hour of the first day. There were many more like it. Maybe not as cold, but definitely grueling. Exhausting, but I never stopped coming back to my why and my belief in myself. It was that belief in myself that got me through 400 days of training. It was falling back on that belief and using that motivation of the doubters, the belief that my family and my friends had instilled in me. And it wasn't easy, it definitely wasn't always fun, but I knew it would be worth it in the end. I used to think of a quote from Muhammad Ali. He said, I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. That's how I felt about training. I hated it all the time. And I'm sure sometimes some of you feel that way about school or your own goals. But know that it's always worth it. If you just endure, you'll achieve your success. It's 100% worth it. Another thing I want to talk about is the fear of failure. We all get scared. Most of you all get scared of trying something new and failing. It can feel embarrassing and disheartening. But the sooner we fail, the sooner we realize that that dread wasn't that bad. That it didn't kill us. I decided that I wasn't scared to fail. I decided to become comfortable with the idea of failing. Not because I like it, but because each time I failed, I learned why. I learned how to become better. And I learned how to do it correctly the next time to succeed. It taught me how to overcome adversity. How to be mentally stronger. How to endure and keep my goal in my mind through the suffering and the testing. Controlling your fear. As mentioned before, being a little hyperthermic gets your brain a little foggy, and that's when people will decide to quit. When that fear, that real fear and panic set in, the similar reactions occur. I watched a man that I looked up to quit within the first 5 minutes of Hell Week. Later, when I asked him why he quit, he told me that he was just scared of what was going to happen next. That the fear of uncertainty of what was going to happen next, what could be done, scared him so much that he quit, without realizing that he was quitting when he did it. He wasn't alone. Many men like him quit, but many men sharing that fear also stayed. I was one of them. I know I was scared. I know I was worried about what was going to happen next, but I tried not to let that fear take over my mind and have me create a rash decision. I took a breath, I assessed my situation, and I just went from moment to moment. If you can imagine, there's a certain level of shock you get when you get tossed into the pool. You can see in the student's eyes when the panic sets in, when the fear takes over, and they decide they'll do anything to quit. These are the most important moments. The most important moments to control your fear. I process my next decisions very carefully. I have limited air. I can't tread water, and the only way to bob is to push all the precious air out of my lungs so I can sink to the bottom of the pool. Once I sink to the bottom of the pool, I can push off the floor, come back up, take another breath. I weigh my options. I can perform and I can pass. Or I can quit, or I can drown, and then at least it's not my problem anymore. So I took all the air in my lungs, I pushed it out. I slowly sank 12 feet, touched the deck, kicked off, and when I reached the surface, I took another breath and did it again. And then I did it again, and then I did it again. Over and over, until it was almost therapeutic for me. Like a form of meditation, because all I have to do is breathe. And once I realized the instructors can't touch me, they can't punish me, and they can't really yell at me, this is actually kind of nice. I enjoyed that time bobbing, and then I enjoyed that time floating, and then I enjoyed that time swimming. The fear was no longer at the front of my mind, only the task at hand. I performed, I passed, I moved forward. You will all endure fear and panic with life's challenges, but don't let it paralyze you. Instead, become comfortable in it until it's no longer controlling you. Lastly, a few things to carry you forward. Remember that your teachers and your coaches are not hard on you because they hate you or want you to fail. Although it's quite the opposite. They push you because they know what you're capable of, even if you can't see it yet. Be passionate about your goals. Don't just be interested, be committed. The bigger the connection you have with your why you're chasing that goal, the better your chances are at succeeding. Because when suffering happens, you'll always fall back to your why. You'll remember the reason you chose this and how great you will feel when you succeed. Combat your laziness. I wasn't born special. I was never the strongest, the fastest, the smartest, and I'm definitely not the tallest. But what I am is a hard worker. Every day I worked to become a little stronger, a little faster, and a little smarter. I worked on my weaknesses specifically until they were my strengths. I didn't always like being underwater with no air, but now I can swim 50 meters in one breath. I can stay calm and confidently swim out of a sinking helicopter in the pitch darkness. Protect your dreams. Protect your dreams from those who doubt you. I mentioned how many people doubted me, teased me, tried to talk me out of my goal. They'll do the same to you. but just ignore them. Just keep putting in the time and the hard work. Block them out or use their words as motivation. Just keep pushing yourself. Keep adding that hard work. Keep believing in yourself and never quit. Always remember, failure is acceptable, quitting is not. Now go forth and become someone special. Thank you.